The twin suns of Kepler 442b were setting when Max found her, a small, shivering form huddled against the rusted guardrail of Route 7, the loneliest highway on humanity's newest colony world. At first, he thought it was a discarded tarp, the way the fading light caught the iridescent fabric. But as his battered hover truck drew closer, Max's breath caught. It was a child. A Sealar child no more than 7 or 8 in human years, with pale blue skin and those distinctive crystalline horns that marked her species. Max pulled over immediately, his worn boots crunching on the gravel as he approached. The girl looked up with enormous violet eyes, tear-streaked and terrified. She clutched a small bag to her chest, everything she owned, Max guessed. "Hey there," he said softly, crouching down to her level. "You okay, little one?" She flinched, pressing herself harder against the metal barrier. Max's heart broke at the gesture. He'd seen fear before, plenty of it, but never in a child's eyes like this. "I'm not going to hurt you," Max continued, keeping his voice gentle. "My name's Max. What's yours?" The girl's lips trembled. Eden," she whispered, her voice carrying that musical quality all Xylar possessed. "Eden, that's a beautiful name." Max glanced around the desolate highway. Not another vehicle in sight, and night was falling fast. The temperature would drop below freezing within the hour. "Where are your parents, Eden?" Her face crumpled and fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "Stepmother. She said I eat too much, cost too much. She left me here, said don't follow." Rage, hot and immediate, flooded through Max's chest. He'd heard stories about the tensions between human colonists and Xylar refugees on Kepler 442b. But this? Abandoning a child on a freezing roadside? "Listen to me, Eden," Max said firmly, meeting her eyes. "That was wrong. So wrong. You didn't deserve that." Eden hiccuped, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. "She said I'm burden." Useless mouth. "She's dead wrong." Max stood, extending his hand. "Come on. Let's get you somewhere warm." Eden stared at his outstretched hand like it might be a trap. Max didn't blame her. Trust had probably been beaten out of this kid long before today. "I know I'm a stranger," Max said quietly, "but I promise you, Eden, I will keep you safe tonight. No strings, no tricks, just a warm meal and a safe place to sleep, okay?" Something in his tone must have reached her because Eden slowly, hesitantly, placed her small 3-fingered hand in his. Max's apartment was small, a converted shipping container in the industrial district of New Prometheus, humanity's capital city on this world. It wasn't much, but it was clean, warm, and most importantly, it was safe. Eden stood in the doorway, eyes wide as she took in the cramped space. Max watched her carefully catalog every exit, every potential threat. His jaw tightened. This kid had learned to survive in ways no child should ever have to. "Bathroom's there," Max pointed. "Why don't you wash up while I make us some dinner?" Eden nodded mutely and disappeared into the tiny washroom. Max got to work in his kitchenette, pulling out what little food he had. Times were tough. His job at the recycling plant barely covered rent. But he'd be damned if this kid went hungry under his roof. 20 minutes later, they sat across from each other at Max's fold-out table, steam rising from 2 bowls of vegetable stew. Eden stared at her bowl like it might vanish if she looked away. "Go ahead," Max encouraged. "Eat." She needed no further prompting. Eden attacked the food with desperate efficiency, shoveling spoonfuls into her mouth so fast Max worried she might choke. "Slow down, kiddo," he said gently. "There's plenty. You can have seconds, thirds even." Eden froze mid-bite, searching his face for deception. Finding none, she gradually relaxed, eating more slowly. They sat in comfortable silence, 2 lonely souls sharing a meal. After dinner, Max set up his sleeping bag on the floor and gave Eden his bed, the only bed. She protested weakly, but exhaustion won out. Within minutes of lying down, she was asleep, her small body finally relaxed. Max settled onto the hard floor, staring at the rust-stained ceiling. What was he going to do? He could barely feed himself, let alone a growing kid. And Eden wasn't even human. She'd need specialized medical care, education, legal documentation. But as he glanced at the sleeping child, her face peaceful for the first time since he'd found her, Max knew he'd already made his choice. The next morning, Max woke to find Eden sitting upright in bed, watching him with those luminous eyes. "Morning," he said, stretching his aching back. "Sleep okay?" Eden nodded slowly. You stayed." The simple statement hit Max harder than it should have. Of course I stayed. I told you I'd keep you safe. But Eden's voice was small, confused. But I'm not yours. I'm not even human. Why would you? Max sat up, meeting her gaze directly. Because it's the right thing to do, Eden. Because every kid deserves someone in their corner. Because you matter. Tears welled in Eden's eyes again, but this time they were different. Not tears of fear or pain, but something else. Something like hope. Can I stay? She whispered. Max's throat tightened with emotion. He thought of the paperwork nightmare ahead, the financial strain, the judgmental looks from neighbors who didn't trust Zilar. He thought of all the reasons this was a terrible idea. Then he looked at Eden and saw not an alien, not a burden, but a scared kid who needed someone to believe in her. Yeah, kiddo, Max said, his voice rough. You can stay. For as long as you need. Eden launched herself across the room, wrapping her thin arms around Max's neck in a fierce hug. He held her carefully, feeling her crystalline horns press against his shoulder. Outside, the twin suns rose over New Prometheus, painting the sky in shades of amber and gold. It was a new day, the beginning of an unlikely family forged not by blood or species, but by something far stronger, the simple, stubborn human refusal to leave someone behind. Max had found Eden on the roadside with nothing. Now they both had everything that mattered.